Good evening and welcome to the October 28th Palmer Town Council meeting. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's new staff. I'll take it.
Go ahead.
So before we start tonight, I want to quickly introduce three new members to the Palmer Town team here. First, I want to introduce Todd Carney. He's the facilities director. And Todd, if you're in the audience, you want to stand up quick? Thank you. Todd Carney is the new facilities director here for the newly created position. He comes with over 30 years experience between the Longmeadow Public Schools and the town of Longmeadow. And as you guys know, it's definitely a position we absolutely needed. I'm already working closely on Todd on a few various projects that we're hopeful to bring forward for ARPA funding pretty soon, one being the town hall steps right in front. So I'm excited for the position, and it's definitely going to help with the capital plan. So welcome, Todd. The second is Danica Griswold. Danica is a familiar face for everyone. She has over close to 5 years experience between prior roles in the town hall. Her previous one was the shared school and towns payroll and benefits coordinator, and she's the first HR and payroll benefits coordinator specifically for the town. So another position I'm looking forward to working with and bringing our, especially our new hire packets. I know that's one thing that's bugged me since I started here, and same thing happened when I was in Plymouth, was we have things from 2016 still in our new hire packet. So it's all about cleaning that up. When you have an employee who comes in and that's the first thing they see, we want to set the bar high here. And it's going to be that going forward. So I'm excited for Danica. And the last one is Jessica Layden. Welcome, Jessica. Jessica is the conservation agent. Jessica recently graduated with a master's degree in ecological design from the Conway School. And prior to that, Jessica had a strong background in teaching with a focus in environmental and agricultural programs. So I'm excited to see where Jessica can lead and really help us maximize the use of all of our amenities in town. All right. You guys are good to go.
Dismissed.
Thank you and welcome
Thank you.
aboard.
Welcome.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Congratulations. The food is ready.
The next item is visitors' comments. Just to reiterate the rules of visitors' comments. If you come up, please give your name and address, and then you have 5 minutes to address the council. Anyone like to?
Dave Golden, Farragon Avenue. No offense to the new hires at all, I'm sure they're very qualified, but I'm curious why we overlooked a stormwater coordinator and when we were hiring for new positions. Major proponent of the master plan was a stormwater coordinator. A facilities manager was never even mentioned in the master plan. So I'm just curious how we overlooked a stormwater coordinator. We know what's happening in town. We've heard Matt talk about it, and it's an important position. And I'm just curious what our plan is for that.
Yeah, obviously any position can be addressed during the budget process. If that's something we want to look at for FY26 we'd be going into, we're more than happy to do that. But when I first started right in April, one thing I felt we needed significant response to was our facilities and maintaining them. And that was one thing when you look, we didn't even have a capital plan. We still don't. We're implementing it right now. But some of our facilities, if we don't have an eye on it day to day, they're going to degrade and it's going to be extremely expensive. Now, I'm not discounting the stormwater system, but we are in compliance with MS4 regs, Matt, I believe. So we're in compliance there. But I also don't disagree that that's a position that should be looked at as we move forward.
Highly recommended in the master plan. So I think it's something we really need to consider next year.
Yeah. No, it's the budget subcommittee can definitely take a look at it. Yep.
But there, just to add to that, there were a number of positions that were priorities of the council for the past several years, and facilities was one of them. And we were able to move it forward this year. IT is another one that, to bring it in-house, because we're spending a lot of money outsourcing IT services, that will be coming down the road. And then the HR payroll position already existed. It was just, the job description was upgraded to include some HR responsibilities. So that was already a position, just with expanded tasks. So, because you do need someone in a town this size that's solely dedicated to payroll and benefits and HR.
Yeah, and there was a few other positions that we actually discussed in the budget subcommittee that didn't even get funded. So that wasn't like a sole position that we said we're not gonna fund. There was a handful of other ones that we discussed through the process, so.
Just wanted to put it on your
Yep.
vision.
I think too, for stormwater, as every year progresses, the requirements become different from year to year as to what you have to do as part of that MS4 permit. And so a lot of the stuff that there's some stuff that we are still able to do in-house and some stuff that we're able to do with coordination from Ty and Bond. So that is not unique to Palmer. A lot of communities kind of use that model right now. So I'm not saying, I think it just needs to be studied a little more as to, and then also finding someone who is versed in that also may not be as easy as one would think. So, but thank you for those comments. Anyone else?
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to share information about the environmentally important paint stewardship legislation presently before our legislature. My name is Tom Irwin. I live on Central Ave in Dalton, Massachusetts. I'm a retired chemical engineer and physician who, while a member of the Dalton Waste Management Committee, was dealing with the same waste crisis municipalities across the state are dealing with, often no landfill, hauling our waste out of state, and coping with the ever-increasing costs of disposal. Paint stewardship was discovered while looking for alternatives. The concept seemed perfect, and after visiting Connecticut, Vermont, and New York to confirm personally that the program was well received by both retailers and consumers, I became an advocate for this law in the state. So you might want to ask why product stewardship is needed. Simply, Massachusetts generates 6 million tons of trash annually and only has capacity to incinerate 3.2 million tons, which leaves 2.8 million tons that needs to be disposed of. We only have 5 municipal landfills in the state, so the vast majority of that needs to be exported to places as far away as Alabama and Ohio, which has a large carbon footprint and is quite expensive. Product stewardship approach, as is endorsed by the Mass DEP, is when applied to waste streams such as paint, mattresses, or packaging, which together constitute a significant portion of our waste, will begin helping this very expensive problem. You might ask what paint stewardship is. Paint stewardship is a program that is instituted once the law passes that allows residents to discard unwanted liquid latex and oil-based paints, which is listed in your first handout, at participating paint retail stores any day the stores are open without a disposal cost and without concern for where the paint was purchased. Participating retailers do so voluntarily, as noted in your second handout, where you will see that Vermont retailers come and go from the program as best suits their business. The retailers collect the return paint from totes, and the paint manufacturers then take the full totes to pre-processing plants like in the one in Hanover, Massachusetts, called Recolor, where the paint is reblended to like new condition and sold for no more than 50% of original cost to entities such as Habitat for Humanity and Restore. The consumer's part is paying an eco fee, which covers the total cost of ownership of the paint of 75 cents per gallon. And the program has been working well in our neighboring states of Connecticut, Rhode Island, Maine, Vermont, and New York, and in the next session of their legislature in New Hampshire, so we are late to the party. Unwanted latex and oil-based paint are not presently managed by the town of Palmer. Solid Waste Solutions operating from the Warren Transfer Station accept the dried latex. And since there is no household hazardous waste day, the residents of Palmer bring their oil-based paints to the New England Disposal Technologies in Westfield. Currently at NEDT, residents pay $1.25 a pound to discard of liquid latex and $3 a pound to drop off their oil-based paints. Again, in contrast to that, and if this program passes, they will pay nothing to dispose of their paint. The benefits Palmer will receive from this program are, as we've noted, this will be a service Palmer residents will value. The desire to recycle rather than discard has resulted in between 30% and 60% of the latex returned to the Enfield, Connecticut Sherwin-Williams store each week, coming from Massachusetts residents. This is a phenomenon that's observed at other retailers just over Massachusetts border that have the law. And second, there will be no cost to Palmer whatsoever. Third, it will significantly decrease the toxic waste that occurs more often than we would like when oil-based paints are discarded inappropriately. And fourth, it will be a model because it's cooperation between manufacturers, retailers, consumers, and government over a course of 6 years that generated this law. And if any law, any EPR law passes those measures, it's going to work well. There are a few that do. So it'll allow us to get a recycling program for mattresses, which is near and dear to all of our hearts, as a next step beyond paint. It will help with solar panels, rechargeable lithium car batteries, and packaging. The draft resolution being suggested tonight, which is your third handout, is consistent with the state's plans. There are no arm twisting. As noted in your fourth handout, and the MMA is a supporter, as noted in their testimony to the Environment and Natural Resources Committee. The Mass DP in their 2030 Solid Waste Master Plan, the residential section, which is your fourth handout, calls out EPR in general and paint in particular as key elements to moving the state towards the needed goal of zero waste. Also of note, 98 municipalities across the state, as listed in your sixth handout, have passed resolutions or endorsements so far. For our next steps, with the unusually strong support of 29 representatives and 12 senators sponsoring, co-sponsoring paint stewardship, this legislation was viewed favorably by the Environment and Natural Resources Committee and sent to the House Ways and Means Committee. This was an important step. However, legislators have commented that it's critical to demonstrate that addressing solid waste is a municipal priority to communities, which resolutions will do. This is needed in order to compel the Ways and Means Committee and the leadership of the legislature to seriously consider and favorably view and send this paint stewardship legislation to the floor for a vote. Hence, I respectfully request the Palmer Town Council put paint stewardship on an upcoming agenda to make possible including their valued endorsement of paint stewardship through passing a supportive resolution. Thank you for your attention and consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
My name is Ruth Curtin. I live at 111 River Street in Thorndike. And I'm coming to you with a problem we're having on Church Street in Thorndike. This gentleman, I'll identify himself. He lives on Church Street.
My name is Robert Boucher. I live on Church Street, and we're concerned about the speeding that's going on down there and the trucks overweight going over the bridge and many other concerns.
Right, we're having some problems on Church Street. As you know, there's just been a fatality on Church Street recently. I'm one of the commissioners at the Water Department. I have a difficult time leaving our parking lot, as do our customers. Many of the residents on Church Street have come to us at the Water Department and asked what we can do about the speeding on Church Street. Because they come off of the turnpike and they shoot down Church Street. And they're not going 30 miles an hour, believe me. They're going about 50 miles an hour. There are children living there. There's residents living there. This gentleman rents a garage. He can't even get out of his garage. So I don't know if the chief can do something about it, if some hazard signs can be put up. We really need some help on that street. We don't want anybody else to get killed. Okay?
We're also concerned about the truck traffic. The trucks go down there speeding also, and they're going over that bridge overweight. The bridge weight on that thing for a tractor trailer is 31 tons. That's 62,000 pounds. The trucks going down there loaded are weighing up as much as 87,000 pounds, which is 43.5 tons over that bridge. And it goes on every single day. They go down there, they use their Jake brakes when they go around the corner where I live. I've waved at some of them. They give me the finger and they floor it. We have kids on that street that speed up and down it all the time, on their motorcycles, in their cars. There's one kid that lives on Hill Street. Every time he goes by, if he sees me, he slows down, revs his motor up, gives me the finger, and then floors it away. The police have been to his house many times in the past year, and he knows that unless they see him doing it, they can't do anything about it. So he harasses me, and he's consistently speeding. 10, 11 o'clock at night, there's motorcycles going up and down the street at warp speed. And it's just insane, the traffic that's going down that road. I would suggest that you put a police officer over there, maybe parking in their parking lot where he can't be seen.
In the water
And just
department.
watch the traffic for a day or two and see what's really going on that street. It's just insane. You know,
Yeah.
And these cars are going down here anywhere from, they're not doing 30, they're doing anywhere up to 50, 60 miles an hour. The young man that killed himself, that was in my driveway. He was doing, they figure, between 80 and 100 miles an hour when he crashed into the car next door to me. And it's, you know, there's little kids playing on the sidewalk down through there. There's 2 little girls next to me that we let them play in our backyard because they have nowhere else to play. And they're right on the bend, and I'm afraid they're gonna get run over. And there's a lot of kids, young kids live on that street. And something really needs to be done, you know.
Yeah,
I understand that the town is short on police. They're kind of lacking on the number of police they have. I've been told that the state police aren't allowed. Why not? If the town needs help with policing, why not let the state police come in and do some traffic? You know?
Yeah, we at the water department contacted the police and invited them to just park in our parking lot, and we've heard nothing, we've seen nothing. So they're welcome to park in our parking lot, because they won't be seen with the traffic that's coming down the hill. It'll be a perfect spot for them to observe what's going on.
So we have a few measures that we might be able to put in place for you. The first one is on the agenda tonight, you'll see that we're requesting funding for traffic radar devices. And those will actually track and give us live data on high-speed times. So we'll be able to position an office there once we get that data in. But like you guys just mentioned, we're short staff here, and so isn't the state police. So I just want to be realistic. We're not always going to have someone 24/7 coverage. I don't think you guys are asking for that.
No, we don't want that.
Exactly, but at the same time, if, keep relaying things to the chief, and we'll try to position an officer there as much as we can. But again, we're gonna request tonight that we get the radar, trackers, and that'll give us live data that shows what peak times these issues are happening. And we're gonna get multiple ones, we can put them throughout town, because as you guys know, speeding is an issue in various parts of town, not just on Church Street. The second piece I wanna address is, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, there is no weight limit on that bridge, correct? Yeah. It's unrated, so that means there is no cap
There's
on,
signs there to give you the weight. There has to be, that's.
yeah, which,
I'm talking about that bridge. I'm talking about the one.
The new
The
one.
new bridge. There's signs right there to give you the weight rating.
You have to put the weight rating for the second bridge that goes over the canal.
It's the canal bridge he's talking about.
But then it's still irrelevant, because.
I'm talking about the new bridge.
they know they can't go on that.
There's signs there.
Turn right there.
It gives you the weight limit.
Especially before you have to put it so far away,
Yeah, and
it
they're
kind of
exceeding.
makes you think it's that bridge.
The empty trucks, they can do it fine. I was a truck driver for 16 and a half years. I know the rules for the road. There's signs there, but they're this big. And they're at the bridge. They're not at the other end of the street to let them know, hey, there's a bridge down here that you can't go over when you're loaded. So there needs to be more signs put
Okay,
down
so,
there.
yeah, so.
Yeah, we can have that internal discussion on, I know that that sign though has to be so far away from that bridge. It probably isn't in a great location, but it may be in a location that we can put it in because it's within that limit of how far away.
Yeah.
But we can talk about, Matt, if there's another location that we can add signage to.
Whatever you can do, we'd appreciate it.
Yep,
Thank you very
absolutely.
much.
Thank you.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. First item on the agenda is the minutes from September 9th. Any comments?
No, I had none.
Everybody good?
Yep.
Okay, do you have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
No old business. New business, the first item is to accept a gift donation of holiday display items from the Palmer Business Partnership. And this is, we did this several months ago, and this is additional items. They're all outlined in our agenda. Does anybody have any questions regarding that? Chris, did you have anything other to say, or?
I guess the only thing, I don't know if, the only thing that it's kind of associated with this, that some of the display is currently stored at Converse Middle School, and I just wanted to let the town council know that we are aware that it needs to go out of there when they go up. And I'm very glad to say that there is a business person in town, I'm not able to say who it is right now, but they are going to give us space. And it's going to be very good space for the displays to be stored in, and it's going to be very accessible for us to work in. So it's going to be a win-win for the town and for us. And so when the decorations come down at the end of January, they'll probably go into the new space at that time. The other thing is, it's not listed in the display, but I've been working with Mr. Morse and with National Grid, that we're very happy to say that there's going to be an addition to our display this year, that we're currently looking at lighting the giant spruce tree at Depot Park, and it'll be a live lighting. The date for the downtown event is November 30th, and we're looking to put the display up. Our first date with National Grid will be, the first date working with Northern Tree would be November 16th. If it's a bad weather weekend, then we'll go to the next weekend, so everything is up in time for the downtown event. And if it's anywhere, Gloria can tell you that we worked at Trunk or Treat this past week. Old Mill Pond had probably 800 kids at Trunk or Treat, and they saw it, people were taking signs, so I'm really looking forward to the downtown event being a great event this year down there.
Right.
And the fire department's going to work with us. Santa is going to be at the fire department this year. We've got music planned, the train's coming back, and our business people down have really come out to sponsor us. So thank you very
Excellent.
much for
Thanks, Chris.
taking
Thanks
this.
for all you guys
And
do.
this is going to allow us to continue as we need. Thank you, Brad, so much. You are great getting back. You're doing a great job. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Thanks.
Do you have a motion to accept the donation as outlined in the memo? Motion by Matt, second by Carl, all in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Okay, the next item, we're gonna skip, Mr. Burns was not able to make it tonight. Next is a vote to approve Josephine Fitzgerald to the Cultural Council with a term ending June 30th, 2027. Is Josephine here tonight? No? Okay, you want to say anything about that? Okay, do I have a motion to approve Josephine Fitzgerald to the
Make a
Cultural
motion.
Councils?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Next, we have a update from John Latour, who's the Director of Community Development. Come on forward, John.
Good evening. I'm the update for the opera money that you've allocated for fuel assistance. So far, we've helped 39 families. And in the first tranche of money, the $25,000 is, we're getting applications every day. So I have no reservations to say that the second tranche of the $25,000 will also be allocated for families again. So I want to thank you for the help that you've been providing.
Great.
So
Any questions?
the first tranche was gone with the 39?
With the 30, well, it's going to be a little more than 39. Right now, there's 3. So right now, we're at like $22,500, 39 people, but we have 5 people that we've approved that they haven't gone through to the payment yet, but that will be this week.
Okay.
I think we might be making 2 agenda items. One, John, did you want to update the council on the Maple Terrace project?
Okay, I can do that.
Or we can kick that to November if you rather.
No, I can update. We had the public forum just about 2 hours ago at 4:30. We had a few residents show up. We had the engineer, who's the design firm, Weston and Sampson. The town manager, Brad, came. The water supply, the Three Rivers Water Supply, Nicole, Matt Morse, Chris was present with his wife, so we had a good turnout. We'd like to get more residents to come to the next forum that we have. But the plan going forward is to combine the two grant year bids for the Maple Terrace and Maple Street together to put it out to bid at the same time. And our feeling is that will go out for bid in December and then award somewhere between January and February of 2025 in order to have it ready for the spring project season.
Okay. I mean, I think you'll get more people if you don't have it 4:30 in the afternoon when most people are working.
Well, we would stay longer. I mean, we were there even later. It's the combination of trying to, if we have it later, then we've seen where we get one person to show up.
Okay.
So we're trying to figure out how to get people more involved. And so we went door to door multiple times. The first time was for the income surveys, and last week it was to insert the flyers in the door. And we stayed there later, and there's just we could put the span of 2 hours instead of 1, and maybe that would gain some more people, but it's,
I know that's always been a difficult thing to get
it is, yeah.
the support, but I think we also need to get the message out that support is what can help to generate the dollars that come back to the community. And so it is worthwhile to come and give up 20 minutes of your day
Yep.
to sign the information and, so maybe that's the type of message that needs to go out, is how important it is.
And this is capital infrastructure money that does not come out of your tax base. It's grant money, so it's very beneficial.
Also, with a project this size, too, there's going to be some sort of disruption, I'm sure.
That was the
So-
primary questions we got today from the residents, that, again, it's difficult. There's 51 houses in that,
51, yep.
and only 2 people show up. So, again, trying to find a way to get more residents involved. But if the flyer did go out, but again, we can change times. We can look at things to try to draw interest, because that is going to be an issue for people getting in and out of their driveways.
Right,
So-
that and then the water usage,
Exactly.
everything. So, I mean, that people that live down there definitely need to get involved because it's going to disrupt their daily lives.
So as we get closer to the project and the finalization of the design, right now it's proposal, it's theoretical until the design gets finished. So maybe a project board that we put down there that, right at the beginning of the streets, the 2 streets that are impacted would be helpful. And that's one of the things we discussed this afternoon, to see what we can do to get the word out. And put additional flyers, and the contact information, calls. I did have people stop by during the day for information, and I filled them in with what we had.
Gotcha.
Great. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Nice.
So the second piece, though, would be is the 25,000 for the ARPA fuel assistance.
Yep, I'm gonna do that next.
Perfect.
Yep. Okay, Resolution 2025-11 is to transfer $25,000 from ARPA funds for fuel assistance.
I make a
Should
motion.
be administered by the Community Development Office. Motion by Jessica,
Second.
second by Carl. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
And just so everyone knows on that, what we'll do is we'll run it to December 1st. And obviously, as you guys know, the money has to be gone out the door by December 31st. So if there's surplus funds, we're going to remove them as of December 1st and reallocate them to a different project.
Yes, thank you. Okay, next is Resolution 2025-12, which is to authorize $10,391.28 of ARPA funds for the purchase of the Equiture recording solution for the police department. We have a memo from the chief regarding this purchase. Do I need to have the chief come forward? Does anybody have questions on this? Okay, come on forward, chief.
Sorry.
That's what he's here for.
Aye.
Hey, Chief. So the memo we received said that in 2023, the state 911, which oversees and maintains the 911 system for emergency services, stated that it would no longer cover the costs provided the equipment to record the business lines or radio communications of the police, fire, and EMS. What have we been doing since 2023 to cover ourselves?
So,
they still record. The notice came out in 2023, and it was a 3-year notice to let you know that in 3 years, they were going to end their service of recording all of the functions. So 911 is only going to record, after 2025, they're only going to record their lines only. That's it.
Got it. So that wasn't clear. That's why I was going to say,
Yeah,
because it
so-
sounds like it was only a year gap. And I'm like, why
Yeah.
are we spending this much money on just a 1-year gap?
Yeah, so 2026, that phases out. So
Got it.
you have to have it done by the end of 2025. You have to have some option for you to record your radio transmissions. In our case, police, fire, EMS, anything that is not 911 related. So all of the phone calls that come through the 911 system will continue to be recorded by the state. However, radio transmissions, fire, police, EMS, and anything on the business phone would not be recorded after
And that's
that.
going forward
That
at all.
is-
They're done with it.
Correct.
Okay. Gotcha. Because it almost sounds like they'll only record after 2025, that they were still going to record for us. But it sounds like you're saying it's only 911 calls. All the local stuff is not going to be done. So this is what we're doing to move
Right,
to.
that's correct.
Got it.
That's correct.
Understood.
And the system that we're replacing this with, it's contracted by the state anyways, and it's the system that we already use. So it's going to be continuous, but ours will be standalone for those functions, and theirs will be standalone for 911.
Gotcha.
So these are for recording calls, like if you call just the normal business line?
Correct, because we record all of the business
Right.
lines, we record every radio transmission, and all of the fire EMS lines. And those channels as well for fire and EMS.
Any other questions? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the transfer of $10,391.28 from ARPA funds?
Make a motion?
Second.
Motion by Matt, who second?
Carl.
Carl, okay. I wasn't looking, Carl, sorry.
It's okay.
You and Chris I was like,
I
you know,
don't
I had a
feel
50-50
slighted.
shot. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great.
Okay,
Chief.
thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Resolution 2025-13, which is to authorize $10,660 of ARPA funds for the purchase of an enclosed trailer for emergency service use. And as we had discussed, this equipment is now stored at Converse Middle School, and so we need to find a new home for it. And that is a trailer, which I believe is going to be housed at the PD? or-
Yes, right, we're assuming at the PD, correct.
Okay.
Yep, or if not, DPW. And the big piece behind this as well is that a couple of our site locations are scattered throughout town, so depending on where the emergency is, it makes sense to have this in a vehicle that we can tow and have right at the spot, rather than have to load something up and then move it. It's all stored away.
Any other questions on that? Okay, do I have a motion to transfer $10,660 of ARPA funds?
Make a motion.
Motion by
Second.
Jessica, second by Carl. I saw
doesn't
the hand, it's okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, perfect. Next, we have Resolution 2025-14, which is to authorize $9,786 of ARPA funds for floor replacement at the Milltown Animal Control Building. And again, there's information in our packets that this cost will be borne by the 4 towns in the animal control regional agreement, and this is our share. Any questions?
Have the other towns already approved the?
They're all in the mix right now. Some
Okay.
have, some have gone forward. I actually didn't follow up today, but some I know brought this forward, and some I think are in the next week or so.
Okay, are they using town meeting money or, okay,
It's a mix.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a mix.
okay.
The cost of this seems very high. I don't know the cost of epoxy floors these days, but $27,000 as a complete cost of the project. The building isn't that big, to my knowledge. Just curious on, it's pretty big?
Yeah, I think it's 30.
Got it.
Yeah.
Is there any guarantee or warranty that comes with this? I mean,
Probably a standard. I'd have to look at the.
I'm just curious.
that's-
I mean, it
that's
just
what-
seems like a lot of money, and if we're gonna do it every coming years, then-
Yeah, no, this,
I just
the
hoping it would
epoxy is very low maintenance.
Okay.
That's the goal of it. And the big thing behind this is, it's, one thing that's been consistent is the odor that's in the facility, that this will allow us to clean that up and be gone. It's not going to soak in, so that's a huge win and a benefit to the ACO building.
Can I comment on that from knowing people who own kennel, like huge kennel facilities? Usually the type of epoxy applications, and I don't know if anybody from animal control is here.
Nicole's back there, yeah.
Okay, is that type of epoxy that goes into a kennel facility is pretty different, isn't it, Nicole, than
Nicole, come on forward, okay?
I don't see that.
Yeah, there's different grades of, yeah.
It's a huge difference in grade of epoxy that you would put in your house now.
Gotcha.
There are different grades, but the change is mostly in the grit.
Yeah, it's the grit, but also they usually apply
Multiple layers. It's very thick.
Multiple layers because of the chemical, well, the cleaning solutions in a kennel that needs to be used versus, or should be used.
Yes, that's correct.
Should be used in order to eliminate odor
Gotcha.
and disease.
Yes, antimicrobials.
Disease factors.
Yep, that's accurate. Did you guys have any other questions?
Do we get bids on this, or is this the only quote we have?
This was one out of two quotes that I got. It was just to find the difference between the vinyl flooring potential and the epoxy, which was going to be at the higher end. Based on what I learned, vinyl was not going to be an option unless we went medical grade. The lowest quote I believe I got for vinyl was $79,000. For epoxy, this was the only bid I got. However, our new facilities director was looking to potentially reach out to more, but this seemed, this was, and the range, pretty low
Yeah,
comparatively.
given the time frame,
I'm just-
we'll move it, and then we'll go out to bid for quotes, but.
Larger kennels in our area.
This gentleman actually had experience working in kennels specifically.
Kennel facilities, and in Charlton, there's a great place you could look at, Pack Paws, and Camelot Kennel in Munson does all of that epoxy on their runs.
Thank you. Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, do I have a motion to authorize $9,786,000 of ARPA funds for the floor replacement?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Jessica, second by Carl. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next we have resolution 2025-15, which is to authorize $33,200 for the purchase of traffic radar devices. And that is for, how many? 2, 4, 5? 4?
5.
Four.
Should be 2 of those.
Two of
2
each.
and 2.
And then
And then
one for
shipping.
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 Yep.
So 4.
Well, 5 total, 2 of those, and then 3 of the, it's 3 mountable units,
Is that,
correct?
I think,
Oh,
is that a
that's another
separate one?
quote?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. All right, Chief, you want to
Sure.
say anything?
So just a couple of things as it relates to this. So there are two different purchases we're looking at. We're looking at speed radar trailers. That is 2 trailers for $23,550. These are the trailers that have the radar device on them. They have a screen on them to show people what their speed is. They're inherently mobile. You can put them anywhere. They're easy to deploy, quick setup. And we could use those throughout the town in numerous places to address speeding complaints as it relates to that. In addition to that, we're looking for 3 pole-mounted signs that are that are solar operated, but these would be more of a, I don't want to say extremely permanent because you could move them from one spot to another, but they're intended to be more permanent. And one of the areas that we spoke of, myself and the town manager, as it relates to this, was addressing issues on Church Street, because we do have a lot of issues and a lot of complaints down there as it relates to Church Street. We have done an extensive amount of speed enforcement down there. This year, since the bridge is open, we've had 122 different speed enforcement activities that we've engaged in down there on Church Street. But still, even at that high volume of traffic engagement, 122 times in a little over 5 months, we're still getting a lot of complaints in that area. These signs will be posted. Our plan is to post one on one side of Church Street and one on the other side of Church Street as people are entering. I'm not sure exactly where we're going to do it there near the bridge, but probably right after the bridge, and then on the other area right by the playground, to get traffic coming into that area. That area is where, you know, there's the highest number of complaints in that area. And these are the signs that they flash the speed, but they also get a little bit brighter when the speed is increased beyond what it's supposed to be. And there's also a portion of the sign that actually lights up and flashes, telling somebody that their speed is excessive at that point.
Do these also give you the slow down?
Yes, it does.
Okay, that's the curve in Brimfield. That sign there
Yep.
is a slow down, like
Yeah, the one where it goes from 50
basically
to
from
25.
50 to 25
Yeah.
in a second, but yeah.
Does it also capture data?
They do.
Those?
So the signs that we're talking about, the ones, they all capture data, but the signs that we want to put up permanently will capture some data for us, and they'll be able to tell us, you know, the
a
times of
time
day
frame.
and things to that effect. So we'll be able to plan enforcement activities in the times of day that, you know, it's the greatest amount of speed. Hopefully, they'll do what they're intended to do and calm the speed a bit, but in the event that they don't, we'll at least be able to collect the data. And you can also inactivate the visual portion of the sign and just do data collection. So that can provide you with a lot of information as well.
Chief, a little bit off topic from this, but still talking about Church Street. I know you had mentioned that your team is going to start enforcing people to not park on the sidewalks. Do you think that would help with traffic calming too, because it would reduce the amount of space that both, you know, one lane has to travel? Maybe.
So you're talking about people aren't parking on the sidewalk; they're parking in the street.
Fully on the street.
There are a lot of concerns that I hear relative to people parking in the street there as well, because it makes it somewhat more congested. So, and I'm just
Well, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Because if it's a little more congested, people are going to be discouraged to fly up and down.
correct.
Yeah.
Is there
And
no
then I
parking
can-
on one side? I can't remember right now if there's no parking on one side of Church Street or not.
Well, so on one side there is, but actually I'm reviewing the E-code as it relates to the parking on the other side to see if that is, because it's supposed to be posted in the E-code as to whether or not that side was ever designated as a parking or a no parking zone. So I'm just looking at that, and if it is, then I'll get with Matt Morris and we'll address that as well.
saying
Another area that we have an issue with that is on High Street as well. So.
To have them park on the street. Because right now they
Oh,
park
not on the sidewalk. Okay.
they park on the sidewalk.
Yes.
So they'd be further road.
Great.
Right, and Chief, just since you're at the microphone, so we know that there's been several streets in the past month or so that have come up as being, where people have been posting on Facebook that there's high speed on their streets. I know that the police department's job is not to monitor Facebook, but when that type of thing happens, what do you suggest people do? Can you just talk about that just very
Well,
briefly?
this is again one of the reasons that we're looking to purchase those two trailers, because those two trailers, they're mobile. We can just pick them up and we can put them somewhere. We don't have to go through the process of actually installing, you know, traffic calming devices, you know, onto poles or doing, you know, semi-permanent fixtures or things to that effect. So when you have to secure them to the poles, and then you have battery packs and things to that effect. So that becomes a kind of a job to place those in certain places. With the trailers, we can place them in places where there aren't poles or aren't, you know, we can place them very close to the roadway or, you know, on the side of the roadway, and it has a large display on it as well. So, and we can move those around town, so they're not always in the same spot. One of the problems with putting something in the same spot is everybody anticipates it. It's just like, oh, you know,
Right.
that's going to be there, or, you know.
But should people call dispatch?
Absolutely.
Do we have any type of like, you know, can people report that type of thing a different way? Do we
Absolutely.
have-
So we keep a list of all of the streets that are reported to be problematic. If we have times available, if they're forwarded to us by people when that's a problem, we keep that list as well, and we address those and assign people that take care of those when we have available personnel. We've also applied for and received a grant from the highway the state Department of Public Safety as it relates to the highway safety grant. We received that grant, so that grant will be utilized to do some more enforcement as well.
So are these signs kind of like the one in Ludlow in front of this high school? Because that one there scares everybody because it's got red and blue lights on it if you're going too fast.
Yeah, I don't, it doesn't have the red and blue lights on it, but it is one, it's mounted, it flashes your speed, it tells you when you're going, when you're exceeding the speed limit as well, so.
Do these also have the ability to limit what's, so I've seen in some communities, if the speed limit is 30, and some people like to test how fast they can get the speed limit sign up to, but I've seen signs where it will, it won't go higher than maybe 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. Is that something that you,
No.
no? Okay.
Well, now that they're collecting data, I mean, the old
Yeah,
ones
right.
maybe, but now that they're
Right.
collecting data,
And do the mobile ones collect data too, or just the mounted ones? Okay. All right.
One sec. Sir, did you have a quick question?
Yeah, I was gonna ask about the speed thing, because
Sure.
I have a lot of friends on the state police force and a lot of
Yep.
local police. And they're telling me that these signs that post how fast they're going, they're useless, because people try to see how big can the number on the sign.
Well,
You can shut the
Well, that's
sign off
Jessica's,
and just take the
yeah.
data. I think it would
yeah, you can turn off the speed and you can do data collection, exclusive data collection as it relates to that.
on our street. We would watch the cars go by speeding, and we could see the sign down at the end of the street that was there. And as soon as it would light up, they'd pick up the speed and go faster.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is for the individual who wants to, top out a speed on a sign, but,
Dave?
He's got frowny faces.
How do you determine where you're gonna put the signs? When people call in to, is it like a certain number, we'll get that sign put on?
yeah, so when we get areas that are more problematic than others, we would make them priorities for that. But part of the issue with getting the trailers is that we want the ability to move them around quickly from one spot to another and to be able to move them, daily if we need to,
Yeah.
rather than take something, mount it somewhere, and then leave it there for a period of time.
Okay, thank you.
While you're here, though, can you just make sure Palmer Road's on that list? Because since they paved that middle section,
It is, it already is.
Yeah, all right. I figured.
Thank you.
I don't want to discount Church Street, but Palmer Road is pretty good when they pave that middle section.
Okay, so do I have a motion to transfer $33,200 from ARPA funds?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next we have resolution 2025-16, which is to transfer $35,000 from ARPA funds for Legion Field upgrades. Again, we have a memo, and this is to replace the light bulbs on all the fixtures, and then there's some contingency in case there's any unknown things that need to be fixed when they get up there with the crane. Any questions on that?
So we're upgrading to an LED system, correct?
We are not.
We are not.
We are not.
This is just bulbs.
This is just bulbs. So the price point for the LEDs came into 320 to 350,000.
Bulbs?
The whole
They have
fixture.
LED bulbs out there, don't they? You can switch out incandescent for LEDs, or does it not work?
You
on
had
that?
you would have to change the fixture it's on.
Got it.
So the whole change to make it LED was 320 to 300, I think, and 50,000.
Wow.
So we felt for the price point and where we were, we've got over 20 years of the current lights. It makes sense just to replace those and then see what comes for the 35,000 rather than spending 300,000
Yeah.
for the lights. So
Yeah, there's a decimal in the wrong spot.
So the difference between where the 27.5 and the 35, that's the wiggle room.
that's the wiggle room. And then if there is, I did email the rep today, and he confirmed that if we get this on a PO by the end of the week, he thinks we'll get this done by the end of the year. So if there's a surplus balance, I'm thinking there's a couple fixtures and upgrades we can do to Legion Field itself that we can burn down the funds. So that's why you'll see like the verbiage and the motion's a little generic. So it gives us that flexibility. If once we close out the lights, we can go on and make it, maybe it's buying a new portable bleacher or something. It just gives us that flexibility.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions on that?
What
Go ahead.
What do you think is the lifespan on this? How many years are we going to get out of these new light bulbs, roughly?
If conditions stay the same and they are same use as what they've been, should get easily 10, 15, 20 years. Hopefully we match.
Yeah.
So it, again,
That's a
it came,
no-brainer.
yeah, that was my thought too. Yeah.
In the meantime, though, I'd like to see community development, maybe, the office down there, maybe apply for a green energy grant from the state, the green community grant, because we are already classified, I think, as a green community.
Yeah.
And I think there's still money out there to be grabbed up if we want to do energy efficient upgrades and things like that.
Yeah, green community tends to
Maybe.
be a pain, but
They slow it down a little bit?
Well, they haven't done away with it, but it's become a much smaller pool of money.
Gotcha.
More restricted to.
very restricted.
So no
Yeah, and
quarter
this
of
would-
$1 million in there for LED upgrades, you're saying?
No.
Got
And
it.
this probably isn't a project that's highly scored
No.
when they review.
Right. I'm just saying, and after,
Used all the time, I mean, there's a lot
Right.
of different factors that are involved, and,
Sure. Just thinking of a different avenue of how to fund an upgrade, So, awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
Do you have a motion to transfer $35,000 from ARPA funds?
I'll make a motion.
Second. You gotta get in there too.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Now give that to Carl, Chris.
I saw Carl first. There's also before, you have Mark sign that one. Did you see there's like, it says 35?
Double, yeah.
Yeah. If you want to just fix it just for the permanent record. Okay. All right, next we have Resolution 2025-17, which is to authorize $5,500 to be transferred from sewer surplus to the wastewater treatment plant boiler design expense. And again, there is information in the packet that talks about a change order that was issued, and that change order for $5,500, there are not adequate funds to, I don't know if I think it was already signed, correct, by the
Yes.
former, yeah, so we need to, this amendment was signed, but the funds were not, allocated by the council, so we need to, transfer the $5,500, so any questions on that?
I was gonna say, didn't we already take care of this? But it is taken
This
care
is
of, this is,
Not this amendment.
right, and it's most likely because of the rising costs, I'm assuming, in the time frame between the last vote and now?
No.
Says heat pumps.
The replacement of the
Something
boiler
else?
did not include replacement design for the hot water pumps.
Oh,
This was an ad that was added on by the prior administration, who just signed off on it without having the amount authorized.
understood, got it. Okay,
So do you have-
all for that.
do you have a motion to transfer 55?
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, we have Resolution 2025-18, which is to transfer $39,500 for town hall interior renovations. I will let you talk about that, Brad.
Yeah, so as you guys know, we've had a few changes here at Town Hall. One thing I want to really put under one umbrella is the offices of the building inspector, conservation agent, and then the planner as well. Years ago, there was a change, I should say years ago, but a few years ago, there was a change to move the conservation agent under the planning department, and it makes sense to have it under all one umbrella. The way the building is cut right now, it's very tight space for both, that this will actually allow for office meeting spaces, and it just gives it more of a professional feel, as you guys saw in the packet for the backup. If you have any questions on the design, Bill is here, but I think it's a pretty good plan. There's still space for a meeting space, and it gives each office its own, each director or department head their own office space to have small meetings, then a larger space for a larger meeting.
And those two offices, or the two desks, that
Would
are
be the
not in,
admin-
yeah, those are
administrative assistants.
admins, yep.
Yep, and there'll be a window right between them.
Oh,
so it
I see
keeps
that
people
now.
out of.
Sure.
It's just a quick transaction at the window.
Sure.
And you're on your way.
Okay.
The only thing I can recommend to this, as we're doing this kind of renovation, would be to get MPACT in here and hook up that room for live meetings so that we can live stream planning board meetings and all that. We've been talking about it for a long time, about getting the meetings recorded at least. And if we can get that set up while we're doing all this work in renovating that area, I think that'd be a great time to do it.
So if you guys want to approve this as is tonight, and then I'll come back if there's going to be a capital. Again, maybe MPAC can pick that up, but I'll work with them on what a price would be, and we'll come back if you guys feel that's necessary.
That makes
Can do.
sense to
I
me.
do
Does
agree.
this have space, so I see there's like a table for the meetings to happen, but is there space for if there's an audience?
We could bring chairs in there, but it doesn't call for that right now.
Sure.
We could easily move a few chairs here into that space if we wanted then. I think if they know they're gonna have a large turnout.
They would have
I think
it
they
in
meet
here,
here
sure.
anyway, yeah.
Okay. And this office that is in the bottom
Yep.
right?
Yep,
That
that's
doesn't have
the,
like a
that's
second
the
door?
local, building, the
Okay.
part-time position.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Mhm.
And that's the area that Bill's in right now.
Yep. Okay.
I think it's gonna come out really good. I'm excited for it.
This is just though, like, this is an estimate based on, is this an actual estimate like from a contractor or
It's
this
a
is?
both. It's both.
It
Bill's
is.
built in the piece of the contractor, and then also what the fees would be to like drop the ceiling that needs to happen. I think
Okay.
sprinklers to be moved, and all of that's included in that price point.
That does not seem like a lot.
I know, so this would have to go out to bid though also?
The contractor piece, absolutely, yeah.
There's 3 estimates for it.
There's 3 estimates? Okay, do you have a motion to authorize 39,500 from ARPA money, ARPA funds?
I make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next we have ordinance on betterments for non-public roads, and this is a first reading.
Yep, so if you guys remember last time, we had a general discussion back in August about this ordinance, and I incorporated all the discussion points we had. There are a few things that, if we're gonna remove them, we would need to have that defined tonight. So I can go through those, but I don't know if there's any generic questions before we go through all the talking points I had, but overall, this policy incorporated everything that we had mentioned back in August.
Have we had legal look at it?
Yeah, legal's the one that drafted the final version for me.
Were there any issues between the first draft and the legal draft?
No, it's more or less what details the council wants, such as, I'll open up with the first one. In section 2B, it mentions what the price point is if it was required a 51% vote or a 2/3 vote. So if the council, the way it reads right now, if you adopted it, it would have both those split. But if the council wants to open up for discussion and have that cut where it requires 2/3 vote regardless of the price point, I know exactly where it would need to be, what language would need to be reduced, and that's what we would move forward with. So that is one, we'll start with that one for council weigh-in. Are we interested in looking at 2B and eliminating the first 4 lines on that and having it so it just reads, the petition shall be signed by at least 2/3 of the abutters of the road to whom betterments are to be assessed? So the question becomes then, again, the way it's written right now is anything less than $500 annually that's to be assessed. It only requires 51% of the vote from the abutters. If we wanted to eliminate that and go to a 2/3 vote, again, we just have to adjust the language. I know Barbara had recommended the 2/3, but rather than add the language back in, I felt it was better to reduce it. That way it's in writing right now and up for discussion for the council.
What determines the length of the betterment?
It depends on what the service is being provided. I mean, we talked about on French and Farragon, right? We originally thought about it could be 20, but technically we only can borrow for, it's not the road that actually is getting the betterment. It would actually be the drainage in that case, where the drainage could allow us to go up to, let's say, 20 years.
Okay.
But a road could only be 5 under statute.
Right.
And then I think it would also be determined based on the cost. So if you had a smaller,
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
you're not gonna borrow the money for 20 years. so.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I feel strongly, I said this before, I don't think 51%, that extra 1% should dictate a project for a whole neighborhood. I think it should be 2/3. I think that's fair. And I think $500, I mean, it's just an arbitrary number, and $500 a year could be a lot of money to somebody, and
Oh,
they
yeah,
can't afford
definitely.
it. So I just don't think that it should be based on 51%. I think there should be a bigger buy-in from the people that are going to be affected by a betterment.
I agree. And what's, I don't know, Brad, if you could tell us this, but what is the largest number of residents on a private road?
I have no clue.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I have no clue.
Because, I mean, we're not talking about like thousands of people here. We're talking about
no.
maybe 30 houses, I would say.
Could be a little bit more.
30
I'm
to
trying to think
50.
of, like, some of the area I'm in on Old Farm, Carriage.
Yeah.
I think
But would it
Ridge.
be like based off of, so if you were to do one project for like that neighborhood, it would be based off of the entire neighborhood, not just one street?
Unless the one street voted
It's the
not to,
only one-
exactly,
yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
So then, explain this real quick. So you're saying right now, the way it's written, there's two different options, right? So one would be an estimated cost, individual property owners, $500 or less per year. The petition shall be signed by at least 51%. What if they can't even get to 50%?
Then it's dead in the water. They don't bring it forward.
Okay,
It
and
doesn't
then
go forward.
if 51% sign up, then everybody's got to pay no matter what.
Correct.
Okay, you're
If
saying
it's under 500.
If it's
Now,
under
if they got
500.
52%, 51%, and it came over 500, the project wouldn't move forward. They need to go back out and get signatures to get to the 2/3.
Oh, so there are two options that kind of do play together. If it's less than $500, then it's just 51%. But if it's over $500, then it would be 2/3.
Exactly.
It's a $500 project on a road.
No, per year.
500 per
Per year.
year.
Per year,
Yeah,
depending on
yeah, yeah.
The cost of paying it back, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
per year.
Per
not-
year.
Based
Not
off
in
of what-
total.
Not just one time.
The
Oh,
other-
I got
But
it.
the other issue I have is the percentage comes at the beginning of the project. So you come forward, you have a project, you get a cost estimate, but you don't know, you haven't put it out to bid yet.
Right, you don't have the
Okay?
final.
So you're like, oh, we think this is gonna cost X. And then you go and you get your 51%. And then you go through the bidding and a lot of work to get to that point, and now it's like, oh, you know what? It's not $500 per year, it's $525. Well, now you needed 2/3. To me, it just seems like,
Just have the
and,
two
and, you know, 2/3 is what was thrown out there. I mean, if somebody wanted less than 2/3, but I just think that it should be a higher percentage. And you're not gonna know the actual project cost at this point
No.
when people are going to get the buy-in from their neighbors that are gonna be affected by the improvement.
Yep.
So you are thinking we just strike that totally and just say a 2/3 vote?
Yep.
Just leave it at a 2/3 vote by whoever lives on the street,
Yes.
regardless of the price?
Yeah, so it's not a vote, but it would be, they'd have to go, like, you would go in a neighborhood and every homeowner that was affected, every parcel that's gonna be affected, they have to like sign off on something saying that they're in agreement of this betterment.
Gotcha.
Now, is there any kind of regulations, because this is all driven within the neighborhood, so is there any type of regulation that ensures that the information that the residents are getting is fair and honest? Or does that just
We have
not
the
within
signed,
our?
we have the signed
Yeah,
schedule. That's what we're going off of, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm assuming we'd like, there's steps in here that we would go to each home and verify the amount to be assessed.
okay,
But I gotta imagine if we get to that point, they already know that they've signed on to it, and
okay.
Just out of curiosity, if I sell my house during a betterment, who pays for it after I leave?
the next
Next
owner.
The next owner? Got it. So it just needs to be disclosed, obviously, when,
Yep.
got it.
Vote it and sell.
All right.
So I guess
next
I want
one.
to can we clear that one up so we can move on to the next one? Is the council in favor of striking that to leave it where it would stand, the petition shall be signed by at least 2/3 of abutters of the road to whom betterments are to be assessed?
Yep.
Regardless of cost.
Yep,
I agree on the
Go to
2/3.
2/3.
Yep.
I agree.
All right, so I will scratch that.
Streamlines it.
All right. The next piece that we had discussion points on last time was the $1,000. So what we did with this is, rather than the $1,000 at the time of the application, be non-refundable, we said later on, if you go into, it's originally called out in 2D, in 2C, there'll be a future edit on this that I'll mention too, but it says that it's non-refundable once it finally goes to the council. So if they engage with DPW and then all of a sudden say, this doesn't make sense to us, we'll give them that $1,000 back.
Or the
But
math
if-
doesn't work, or,
Correct, but if they If they go to the council for final approval, that's when the $1,000 becomes non-refundable, whether the council votes the project or not.
Wait a second. Wait a second. So if the council, why does the council weigh in if the project is
Because let's say there was a
eligible or not?
disagreement, if there's a disagreement, and again, I'll use Friendship Fairground because that's the easiest one we've talked about now for, I think, 2 years has been going on. If DPW recommends drainage be put in the road, but the residents say, we don't want that, they can still bring the application forward to the council to vote on. It just wouldn't come with the recommendation of the DPW. So you therefore could vote on it, but you could back the DPW and say, you know what, we agree, we feel drainage is necessary, and if they don't move forward with the project, the $1,000 it gets turned over. There's time and money involved right away when DPW is involved in this project.
No, I understand that part. The question I have then is the betterment doesn't guarantee you your private road to become a public road, correct?
Correct.
All right, that is in the language in
That's
here?
that's
Okay.
not, that's this policy specific just to improve private ways. No change of ownership.
Right, but if I do a betterment and the DPW says that I need to include drainage, that's one step closer to having my road become a public road.
Not necessarily.
That's where I'm trying to get at, right? So, okay.
But there's we have to, that's honestly our next policy we need to probably look at is what is the criteria for us to get roads up to speed to be accepted. We don't have anything right now.
Correct. So in your example, if the DPW says we suggest you guys do drainage, they chose not to do drainage, what is it the council's deal to say no then? It's their private road. If the DPW is saying no, it's not going to get them any closer to becoming a public road.
But that their goal is not to get the public road. They could be just trying to better their current conditions, not to take the acceptance from the town out of the equation. That's not even on the request right now.
No, I'm just getting, but you said that the council would have to finally vote on it.
Still would. Even in this, even just to improve the private way that's not being turned over.
Okay.
You would still have to vote on that to move the application forward.
Well, then, and ultimately, then we're also approving a
borrowing.
borrowing authorization or a
That's what- yeah.
transfer.
No, I
of
get it.
fund.
I understand now, yeah.
I think that.
I just don't see why it would, the council had to say no to something that everybody's already put their time and energy and money
I
into.
think if the DPW director came forward and said, you know, they just want to pave their road, but if they don't put drainage in this spot, then there's going to be runoff, and that runoff is going to go down XYZ Street.
Yeah, that's different, right.
Then the council might go, well, no, so we don't want to create another issue for
Right.
another area, so that would be something I could think of.
Got it.
But I still, first of all, I don't know, $1,000, I feel like $500 would be more fair. And then if you go through the process and you go, I think that if the situation was it's a road project coming forward, that's the DPW director is also approving a road project, comes to the council and the council votes no, I think that people should get their $500 back because they did everything that they were supposed to do. And
I agree, we're not car
ultimately-
salesmen. We're not making money on collecting.
But I think if the project's coming forward and there's agreement that it's gonna be a road project with some drainage, and then when it comes forward to because that's like what's being decided all along, and then we're the next step just to like say, yes, okay. And then there's like, oh, you know what, we don't really want drainage, but even though that was agreement, then I could see that $500 being lost because now you change the rules of what the intent of the project. I don't know, but I just don't think I think 1,000 is too much for, yes, it's the time of the DPW director, but. I don't know
But
if
it's not
that's-
like the DPW director is getting an extra $500 for doing this work. Like
Right, I
or
mean, it's
any
just-
of the
it's
staff,
just-
they're
it's
going to
just
get the
part
same
of- I
amount
mean,
of
we're-
money for their salary.
So I just don't know, I just don't think if we say no, just to say no, why should they be out $1,000 or whatever
Yeah.
that number is that we put in there?
Because if they bring a project forward that's not supported by the DPW,
No, I'm saying
and
it
you
is.
guys back that,
No, I'm saying it is. But
and then
the-
you still say no,
Yeah, I mean, say it's I don't know, say it's a
Yeah, it could happen.
$2 million project, could be.
Well, the town takes on a level of liability, right? Because we're pulling the bond. So if it doesn't get paid back.
Town owes the money regardless.
Correct.
But it's also a lien against the
I was
property.
gonna say.
No, I understand
It
that too.
becomes
Yeah,
like
yeah, I
a,
get it.
yeah.
I am, honestly, I'm with you, Barbara. I think that $1,000 may be a little bit too much, too steep for an application fee, especially if it's gonna be non-refundable at some point.
Okay, so is it the request to reduce it to 5 or scratch it entirely?
No, I think there should be something.
Right, $500
Should be
seems
skin in
fair.
the game, yeah.
And then I think that somewhere down the road, doesn't it say if the project moves forward, that money goes into their,
Yeah, it's offset to the.
It actually says that this fee will be included in the cost of requesting repairs and be accredited against the assessment of the betterments when the work is complete.
Yep.
Right. I would agree with $500.
Yeah, even
Yeah,
$500
$500
is, you're gonna come up to make a petition. You still have to come up with $500. I mean, where do you get that? From the neighborhood, go around with a coffee can, collect the money,
Oh, yeah, no, you could.
you know?
Got it quartered?
Even $250, I mean, just, I don't know if that's getting too cheap, but I mean,
I think 500 is fair for, like, I mean, I don't know if you were like, if you were gonna put like sewer, well, I probably don't wanna ask, cause I'm sure our fees all need to be reviewed, but,
Yeah.
They do.
but, yeah, so we won't go there.
The driveway fee or whatever those fees are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so the recommendation then would be to adjust that to 500. All right. And then just so everyone has the edit on 3C, which is the second page, about 3/4 of the way down, it called out the fee to be paid in section 2C. That should read 2D.
Okay.
So just a minor edit on that to where it calls it out. And the only other thing I want to note is that this calls out, where is it in this? The borrowing term is subject to all Mass General law. So just so everyone knows, even though the residents may want this paid out over 20 years, for example, if we're able to borrow for 10,
Yep.
it's only 10. We're not going to go out to 20.
So then that brings another thing up, right? They will know that information prior to the council approving it, correct? Will you be able to get the terms of the loan, the information, before it comes to the council?
Yeah,
Because
the only thing that may change that is, let's say it's a very small project for
Right, I understand that.
$100,000, right? We may talk internally to actually loan the money ourselves through free cash, general stabilization, rather than go out to borrow.
But what I'm saying is $1 million project over 20 years is a lot more spread out than if you can only take it out for 10. And if you're like, hey, surprise, we can only, do the loan for 10 years, that cost is going to be a lot more to each homeowner, and that may price people right out of the project. So that's what I'm saying is like the project may not go forward as soon as they see the terms of the loan. So we just need to make sure that that's upfront when.
Yeah, we can get them a outline fee schedule and all that stuff.
Correct. That's what I mean before
Yeah.
they commit to anything to the council, because then once they come to the council, I feel like that's the last step, that we're going to go borrow the money, and that's it. It's done.
Yes, you're right.
I just feel like, hey, surprise! It's not 20 years; it's 10 years, and you got to pay double every month. And I don't think people will be very happy with that.
Nope, I get it. Any other questions on that? That was the major changes from the last version.
So I don't see that you added anything regarding, like, where, the section regarding the interest, and that it's the interest rate plus the 2%.
In section 4, it doesn't call out that specific, but it includes any costs that could be related to the project added in.
And all that'll be up front, right? Like, I just worry that somebody's gonna get some street, like French is gonna get involved. They're gonna be like, we're gonna do this betterment, and then boom, they get to us, and then they're like, whoa, we can't afford this. So I think that everything needs to be up front, so everybody is fully aware of how much is being out of pocket.
Yeah, the only thing we won't know at the time is like we can guess what the interest rate's gonna be, right? But until we get bids back, it's only a guess.
Right.
So things like that there are gonna be variables in there.
Right.
So would a counsel say that administrative costs is what we're talking about of like the 2%?
Yep.
Is that what he said?
Yep.
And then the other section was, that we talked about, where it doesn't, it goes from, within 6 months, the Department of Public Works will calculate the actual cost, send a list of the final portion shares to the abutting property owners, and then the shares will be to the assessors, and shares will be apportioned among the abutting property owners as allowed by law. There's nothing in there that talks about the bill that go.
Bottom of B.
The next one?
Look at, yeah, the bottom of B. Paying off before they're due.
Okay, that got added.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
No, you're,
Does it go on directly on the tax bill, or is it a separate?
first it's a bill, you can pay in full within 30 days, or you have the apportion thing in the letter. With the
Okay.
letter, there's a second page and says, so you're either sending a payment in full, you can pay a portion of it, and then you can ask to have it allocated or apportioned over 5, 10, 15, or 20 years, or whatever
Oh, okay,
the town decides is the maximum.
sure.
But so like, if they were just doing their road,
Mm-hmm.
the maximum is 5 years under the statute. So
By law.
even- By law, so
Got it.
even if it was expensive, they can only go 5 years, because drainage is what allows you to do longer than 5 years,
Got it.
you know, so,
So there's different ways to do, right, I got it.
right.
Different angles to take. So
Yeah,
even
it's-
though it'll be
you
more
have to, like, you
expensive,
have
it'll
to-
be,
it's gonna be based on like every project individually and
Got it.
what the work is on the project, and then what's allowed under the statute for borrowing terms. Which all has to be approved by bond council, so it's not just the town internally. When you go to borrow the money, you have to have all the boxes checked if this is what you're doing.
gotcha.
All right, so anything else, Brad, on that?
No, that was it.
Oh, sorry.
I had a chance to preview that betterment plan, and I have to speak as a layperson, and probably a layperson who has more knowledge on this betterment program than most of the residents in town. When I first read that, I thought the DPW was doing this work. Nowhere in there does it say it's going out to bid. When it goes out to bid, it's gonna be going out at prevailing wage. That's not in there either. So it's misleading to let the people know, we're not using it. We're not gonna use this thing because it's way beyond anything we can afford. We're paying ourselves to have our road paved. And this is one of the reasons that it's misleading. It doesn't break down every single thing that that you have to do to get this betterment program. Even the last one too, it was confusing because they had both the private being taken as a public road, and then this was part of that. I just don't think it spells it out for the regular resident that reads this and wants to decide whether to use it, exactly what it entails.
It's like a
I
schedule
think-
of events.
Everything, this is what you're gonna have to pay an administrative cost. It doesn't say anything about that in there.
No, it does
Well,
now. It does now.
It does now, okay.
It does.
Yeah.
So I
That's a section 4. It says the
It
administrative.
needs to be broken
And I-
down to a point where any one of us can understand what we're trying to get ourselves into.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, go ahead, you go first.
I'm saying maybe. I think part of it is that this is an ordinance, and they're expected to be written in a certain legalese that can be very confusing, as many laws and ordinances can be to the general public. And if it would be helpful, maybe we could, include a separate document that says like, okay, you're interested in pursuing a betterment. Here are the steps. Here are things to expect. But for like the legal part of things, this is the language that we are expected to go with. And as far as your concern about prevailing wage and
Going out to bid.
going
It
out to
doesn't even
bid,
say that in there.
but it doesn't explicitly say it, but it does say
I thought it was the
applicable mass general law, and that's where, from a municipality standpoint, we have to follow the mass general law that says we have to go out to bid. We have to pay prevailing wages, so it's implicitly it is in there. But I don't know if that's something that we can draw
Even
out.
if you had that other document that
Yeah, I
goes with it, that would
Right,
be
that's,
fine.
that was like an FAQ
FAQ,
kind
yeah.
of thing.
I get that you gotta follow
a
the
flyer.
laws,
Right.
the verbiage to confuse people, but
Right. I mean, we do it all the time, right? Like, and maybe not as a town, but in the work that I do, we have these legal documents that are legal documents we have to follow, but then we have to break it down for lay people to say like, okay, now what does that mean? And that's where it
For an
gets
example,
challenging.
we went out and found 3 bids. And when we found out that it was gonna have to go out to bid afterwards, we didn't know before then. You know, we went out and got these bids and decided on what we were gonna do. Then we find out that it's going out to bid from the town and it's gonna be prevailing wage. So all that work we did ahead of time was
Yeah.
wasted.
Wow.
But as it is, we took one of those.
Right.
Partially, because we're doing our streets separate. Farragon is in the process of being paved this Saturday. All the stuff has been done. It's so much better just to drive on that road now that it's all dirt. All the old asphalt's been taken off, and it's gone up French to the second driveway on French on the south end, way further than we thought it was going to. And French is now working on their own plan to do a shimming over what's there, because the cost for them on that size street was out of reach.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to update. They don't have all the people contributing. They don't.
Okay.
We have the 5 neighbors
Sure.
on our street that are paying for ours.
Okay. Great.
But we don't need you
All that work now.
At least we have one now, almost.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Well, I think this exercise has allowed us to learn that there's a lot of private roads in town. So this might be the first to come to us, but there will certainly be more in the future.
I do agree, we should try to draft an FAQ that just kind of explains all the steps, like what does the town have to adhere
Yeah,
to?
it could probably go on the sign-off sheet that all the abutters have to sign off on. We could put something that outlines more details. I know,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, what I would love to see is on the website, a section on, so the section with this bylaw, or ordinance, sorry. And then, so, once it's approved, and then an FAQ that explains, exactly what the steps are, if you're interested in doing this, what you would have to do, and spelling it out, and spelling out that, the town is required to, because the town is borrowing the money, the town is required to meet the procurement laws of Massachusetts, et cetera, and then just spell it out, and then if the town was to borrow the money, it would be the cost of the interest rate that the town gets at the time of the borrowing, plus a 2% administrative fee over the life of the borrowing, something like that. I know, I actually, yes.
I talked to Brad to make sure I had the
Yes.
information right, so I could give it to the neighborhood.
Yep.
so-
Yep.
Yeah, and that's what we need to do, but put it with this, so if someone's looking up how to do this, if the FAQ is there also. But yes, you did, you're correct. You did a great job. Okay, so, all right, so anybody else have anything they want to change in that? All right, so this will move to public hearing and second reading.
With all the edits that
with
were
the
mentioned
edits,
tonight.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Next is to authorize the town manager to develop a municipal aggregation plan. I'll let you talk about that.
Yep, so this is specific to electricity costs, specific to the supply portion. So as you guys know, when you get your bills, you get a delivery and a supply piece on there. One thing we had in Plymouth, which returned millions of dollars, and again, different, we had 65,000 people there that lived permanent, a little smaller here in Palmer, but that program returned millions of dollars over its lifespan. So what this would allow the town to do is go forward, and again, the approval tonight is just to continue on with the process. It's not signing off anything that we're moving forward with anyone, but it would give me the ability to find a broker, look at our usage throughout town-wide, and go and lock in a rate for the town-wide for supply. So in the packet, right, I forwarded this to you guys separately, you could see the variables, and there's months sometimes where the locked-in rate we have would be a little bit higher than the open market. But if you look at the length of the contract, 9 out of 10 times you are saving money as the homeowner under a town that has the municipal aggregation program. So again, this approval tonight would not give me authorization to sign off on a deal with the broker, but it give me the steps and the ability to move forward with the process and look town-wide. And how that would work is everyone in town would automatically be opted into the program. Anyone can opt out, though. So that, again, if the rates did fluctuate and all of a sudden we saw a crash in the market and you could go for a lower rate on the open market, there's nothing stopping you from doing that. You can go on the open market.
And how would you be able to opt back in once the?
So that's where the broker comes into play. They're the ones that lead. They're like the third
Okay.
party day-to-day operations on it.
Okay,
Yep, not anyone at town hall.
Sure.
So I brought this up years ago, just as a passing, hey, why don't we do an aggregate? Because a lot of other communities were doing it and they were saving money by locking in the prices for their communities.
Yep.
And I was told that we were already involved in some solar thing that we signed up for. I don't know, how is that gonna affect that?
The
We're
solar,
already in a program that we're getting a municipal discount from some solar, not the town, but municipality-wide.
correct. So this would not affect municipality at all. We have our own private agreement that's outside of the scope of this. This would be for anyone who's not in a side agreement. As a homeowner, right, you may have an agreement with someone else for your delivery. You'd have the right to stay with them. You wouldn't, this new wouldn't override that existing contract you have.
Got it.
So if someone does have an outside agreement with a third party other than National Grid, right?
Yep.
Do those people are locked, they
We
don't,
don't-
they don't come over, correct?
Until, exactly. They may be able to opt out of their own program
Or
and then
until it
jump on,
expires.
and exactly till it expires. Yep.
And then once it expires, they automatically come onto the towns?
Correct, but they also can, this doesn't stop anyone from shopping outside of the town
Right,
agreement
yep.
or National Grid. You can still do that on your own.
All right, so at this point, there's more information to come on
Absolutely.
this? Okay, so do we have a motion to authorize the town manager to develop a municipal aggregation plan?
I'll make a motion. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And then I'll just be fully upfront, it's a super lengthy process that honestly could take me anywhere from 6 to 9 months before I'm back to you guys with all the data for approval. So it's not gonna happen overnight, but hopefully by the next fiscal year, by July, hopefully we have someone locked in and we're turning over. More to come.
Okay, was anybody opposed? I didn't get that far. Everybody's good? Okay. All right, next is to approve the, approve. So Brad's looking to create a recreation committee consisting of 5 members. And there's nothing in the packet about this?
No, it came in super late. I have
Okay. Go
a
ahead.
charge, if you want to call it.
Yeah, go ahead.
So as you guys know, Andrew St. George left the town of Palmer. He was the recreation director and took a position in Sturbridge. So the position is vacant. One thing that came to my mind that I've seen be successful in other communities I've worked in is the use of a recreation committee. And I feel like that would, implemented, would give us another set of eyes and carry out a lot of the major goals we want for the recreation department. So I drafted a kind of a mission statement or a charge almost for that recreation group to lead. And my thought would be, it wouldn't be a group that's just in place till we find a recreation director. It'd be a long-standing recreation committee that would continue on into the future to make sure that the goals of the town with its recreational use are always being met. So with that, what I have written down here, the charge would be, is to increase people's enjoyment of the living, start over again. To increase people's enjoyment of living in Palmer and build a deeper sense of community by ensuring we provide recreational and educational opportunities to all Palmer residents regardless of age, ability, and means. So obviously, they'll create their own mission statement as they progress. But before we posted and hired a recreation director, I'd want that committee in place and really outline what our goals are for the future of Palmer.
Great.
Any opposition to creating a rec committee? Okay, perfect. All right, next we have subcommittee reports. Anyone? None?
Nope.
Town managers report.
Yep, so a couple just of upcoming schedule. Early voting ends on October 31st. On Halloween, on October 31st, the town-wide trick-or-treating is 4 to 6 p.m. On November 1st, Palmer Schools will have the annual parade, bonfire, and powder puff game at Legion Field for the Ware game. Also on November 1st, FY25 real estate and personal property taxes are due. And then on 11/11, we have the Veterans Day Parade that starts at 10:45 at AMVets. If anyone is interested in marching, they can reach out to Tina Broman, our VSO, to sign up and get on the list for the marching group. In addition to that, we received a $158,000 grant for 2 culverts. It's only for the design work, for the field work and the design. One is on Bacon Road and the other is on West Ware Road. To date, 3,800 ballots have been cast as of Saturday for Palmer. So
That's a lot.
it's a lot.
That's like over
3,800.
50%,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty much
Yeah.
over 50%, yeah.
Yeah.
Registered
that's
voters. So
amazing.
definitely, yeah, a lot of, so everyone's taking advantage of the early voting. And
So much easier.
as the council knows,
ever votes?
I'm not sure. I'd have to ask Sue, but probably for this stage of the game,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, for early voting, she did say there's a lot. Yeah.
Big turnout.
Yeah.
Yep. And then 5 private roads through this process have been brought up to temporary improvements. So those improvements that we discussed were made, brought up to a temporary improved condition. And that list will eventually get to you guys and present to you all the private roads we have in town with the grade and kind of what the schedule is. So we'll be asking for a budget adjustment probably next month to make sure we have funding to cover that. But again, was a step in the right direction, I felt, for Palmer to get that list outlined. We got 5 private roads temporarily fixed, and we're moving in the right direction. And then also too, in November, I have a big grant announcement for the town of Palmer. So I'm not going to release it right now, but we got some good money coming our way.
Excellent.
All right.
You guys started a movement. You did.
You don't have to spend any more money on Farragut Adams. For 3 years.
For, yeah.
We
for
got it
now.
on camera, don't worry. No.
Miscellaneous correspondence, anyone? No. Counselors Roundtable?
The Three Rivers Chamber Christmas on the Common will be on December 8th, Sunday, December 8th, which is exactly the weekend after Thanksgiving. So it's like you guys are doing, Light Up is on the 30th, which is the weekend of Thanksgiving, and then the week after is going to be the Sunday, which is going to be the Christmas on the Common for the Three Rivers Chamber. And I think in between both events, there are a lot of events going on in town, so. Perfect. Yes, and we're excited for that too.
Anybody else? Okay. All right, so our executive session is canceled, is my understanding. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night.
Good night.